Girl groups in K-pop have always had that super crazy pressure to have a successful debut, at least more than boy groups do. In this industry where women are only considered desirable when they are as young and youthful as possible.
Be new to us, be young to us, but only in a new way and only the way we want.
That's why companies just keep lowering the debut age and letting minors, and especially teenage girls, into the industry to capitalize on their soon-to-run-out youth. They have to be successful at their first few years of career, because those are the only time when they are still the shiny new toys in the field. Those are the only time when the public still tolerates and supports them. And those are the only time when they have a slight chance to compete equally with boy groups. Generally, boy groups can even flop so badly at their debut. But in the long run, their careers are still way more secure than their female peers, thanks to the strong support from their fandom. But for girl groups, not so many of them can be brave girls and magically have a hit after flopping 10 years into the game. To actually build the fandom, the only time that they probably get is during the first few years, and if possible, right at their debut. If we look at the currently active and successful girl groups right now, most of them manage to do that. It's a sad reality, but that's why I make this video. The art of debuting girl groups. The pressure is on them. Can they turn it into diamond? Or get crushed under it? Let's find out by going through the debut list of the most iconic girl groups right now. Of course, I cannot include all girl groups and only a few that are worth conversation. But if this video's successful, I may extend it for part 2. The ranking of K-pop debuts is not a new topic in the K-tube community, but most of them are talking about the debut songs only, whereas I talk about it as an era. So yeah, the criteria is not just about the song's quality, but also the entire debut era execution, their commercial success and impact. How do they make a strong statement right at this debut? Let's go through the ranking. Number 1, Something Was in Air. These are the debuts that change K-pop forever. Like, there was something changed in the air of the day that they debuted. They do not just break records just for the sake of the group, but also have an influence on the industry artistically. They ticked all the boxes of era execution, artistic quality, commercial success, and social impact. Number 2, Made a Statement. These debuts were just as widely successful as the first tier, but they just lack a little bit of influence to the industry. I do think there's a conversation to be had to distinguish between influence and success. One is all about numbers, charts, streams, sales, and mainly about the artists themselves. The other is more intangible, is about how the artists inspire or move others in the industry. We'll discuss it later, so you'll know what I mean. Number 3, I See You Girls. These debuts ticked 2 boxes in the criteria, but didn't really go all the way. So basically, they are either so successful but not really well executed or having strong impact, or a really high-quality debut but not widely successful or impactful. Thus, they are not really that groundbreaking, but are good enough to establish a strong identity and foundation for them, and for the audience to see their potential. Number 4, okay, I guess? These debuts are okay. They ticked 1 box in the criteria. Very solid debut for the audience to at least understand where they are going, but not really outstanding to give them hope and excitement, if you know what I mean. Number 5, Do You Want to Make It or Not? These are not that bad, but they really confuse a lot of people. Something's not clicking here. And they have really wasted their hype and potential. I was actually wanting to make a tier 6 named We Know You Can't Go Far. For the groups that I already knew is a certain flop, and just like the name, can't last long in the industry. But I feel like it would be too mean. And after the script, I have no group in that tier because I mainly focus on popular groups and not the super nugu ones. So, the only objectively bad tier here is the 5th one, while the other 4s are at least kinda okay. I think I will just keep the tier 6 here, so you guys don't think the 5th tier groups are that bad.
I love the way you love the check.
Now, I want to go through the list based on the reverse chronological order because people can remember the recent debuts better, and so do I. So let's get started firstly, with Hearts to Hearts. SM is always known to have a grower, not a shower debut for their girl groups. We've seen it with Black Mamba and Happiness, except for the legendary Into the New World, which I'll get into later. So just like aespa and Red Velvet, I believe that The Chase is just a foundation for Hearts to Hearts to grow further in the future. It is a solid debut, though, with a unique concept and quality music enough to set them apart from the oversaturated market of the fifth generation. I mean, it was literally written by Flo. Of course the song will be good. And Hearts to Hearts is a SM girl group. Of course the girls will have a decent concept and have the vocals and talents to deliver the song. Their hip-shaking choreo kinda went viral too. But overall, if we zoom out, we can see that the product as a whole synthesizes a lot of elements from other girl groups that we've seen in recent years. The softcore, elegant aesthetics, dreamy sound, do I think that they synthesize it in a good way to make it their own? Yes. But do I also think that as a debut, it was not strong or outstanding enough? Also, yes. In addition, maybe it's because of the 8 members lineup and SM is debuting lots of minors again, but I can't really see a girl who has strong individuality and stood out among them. Like for Happiness, we have all heard Wendy's legendary high notes. Or for Black Mamba, a lot of people even accused Karina of being photoshopped because she has a too surreal visual. I don't lose hope on the girls. I already know they will have a long run in their careers, just like most of their SM seniors. But for now, as a rookie, their debut is just okay. Competing directly with Hearts to Hearts at their debut, we have the sister of IVE, KiiiKiii. Their debut teaser was so camp and pretty much giving Nugu excellence potential in terms of concept.
I love KiiiKiii!
The website thingy was hella creative and screamed budget that I haven't even seen it with IVE before. The hype was so there for them. But music-wise, they do not live up to the standards that the concept has set out to do. I-DLE is cute, but basic. And how is it connected to the weird core aesthetics in the teaser again? On the other hand, debut song kinda matched the concept. I love the narrative of congratulating yourself for making a debut, love the imaginary stage, and the aesthetics overall. But the song itself is horrible. The basic usage of the happy birthday melody, the terrible Kim Possible rap,
Mission impossible and they call me impossible.
And most importantly, the beat is so bland. In addition, I think they kinda face the same problem with Addison Rae, in the sense that the concept is there, but the audience always has to ask the questions of, is the artist genuine and authentic with it, especially when most of them are children? And then we have the main song, BTG, which kinda balances both the music and concept, unlike her previous sisters. The concept is distinctive enough, I love the beat and the pre-chorus, but why do they have to rap? It's not just about them, but recently I've seen a lot of non-rapping girl groups try to do a rap song. They're not even like XG or BLACKPINK level of rap, but the fast-reading type of way. That's what kinda threw me off a bit and made rollout of this debut decreasing as time went by, which is such a wasted potential. Now, do I see their vision? Yes, I think they are trying to set out an identity. But my problem is with their execution. Just like their EP name, Uncut Gem, I do think they have a lot of potential to grow in the future, but right now, I have to ask the question of, do you really want to make it or not? There was kinda a lot of hype for MEOVV pre-debut as well. After the disappointing debut of BABYMONSTER, which we'll get into later, people were trying to find a new BLACKPINK sister who really deserved that title, which is such a toxic mindset. Anyway, the points that their pre-debut fans were trying to make was that they have Ella, who was close with BLACKPINK since she was a child, and has such a Jenny look, and their producer is Teddy, so they should be more of a BLACKPINK sister, which is so funny and such a setup for them. Their rollout process was kinda cute. Teddy teased them with the 5 Mysterious Cats trailer, which matched their name. Each member was teased with their eyes and later had their own trailer to showcase their personalities and skills. We can know who the members are and their specialties. The music and concept that they teased sounds good as well and kinda hyped. I like the lineup. They look individually charismatic and talented enough while also harmonizing as a group. Everything was perfect until the song and MV. On one hand, I was glad that MEOVV is not another BABYMONSTER, and their music was not too obvious to be a dupe version of BLACKPINK. I like the chorus, and the campy Bigfoot part. The dance break is kinda slay. On the other hand, the outdated Teddy and YG formula is still kinda there, and bad in a new way, the empty chorus.
We're my girls, we gon' shake some.
The try-hard rap.
I could do it all night, it look easy, don't it?
The bad bitch lyrics about fighting back haters even though they literally just debuted.
Try and match my energy.
The MV screams low budget. This cringy but iconic part.
Now you speak French talking about we.
I have never spent a day not thinking about it since then.
Now you speak French talking about we.
Considering both of the pros and cons, I think that problem is not inherently just about the song or the concept, but also the promo. Because the thing is, with artists from YG and the Black Label, even if the music was garbage, the stans would still eat it up because they are decent performers. But MEOVV didn't even really show up all the way to do that. Everyone was complaining about how poorly they were promoted. Very few and distant comeback show stages, and all of them not even their live singing ability. No dance challenge, a few performances, vlog and BTS videos, and that's it. And the fact that they debuted with only one song made it even more underwhelming. It's frustrating because the members do have auras, vocals, and performing skills. Thus, the noise starts fading away. I heard that they will focus on promoting properly for their upcoming first album, and I really hope they do. But for their debut era, the Black Label is not giving me any sign that they're really hungry. Let's move on to some group with a more positive debut era. ILLIT. I admit that they didn't exactly start off really well. Coming out of a survival show that is a hot mess, losing a member right before debut, and the start of the NewJeans copy allegations right after their first public appearance. But Magnetic and the EP Super Real Me had performed really well. One of the best performing debut songs in K-pop history, if we're being honest. Almost 600 million streams on Spotify, 200 million views on YouTube, fastest group making it the Billboard Hot 100 12 music show wins, and the first girl group to achieve a perfect all-kill for a debut song since BLACKPINK. They even achieved it right when the Min Hee-jin versus Hybe drama exploded, which is a serve. The EP sold really well as well, and has such a cohesive sound, aesthetic, and concept. I may not be really impressed with Magnetic because it's kind of formulaic. But like the other 3 tracks of the EP has made the project and era as a whole so cohesive and high quality. There is a strong identity there. Their company has done a pretty good job in promoting this era. There's some conversations about payola and autoplay or something, but I don't want to get into that. The statistics-wise, top tier no doubt. But like I said at the beginning, I also want to look at the debut from just a commercial perspective, but also a cultural influence and quality. And if I am being honest, I feel like it benefits more from the wave of short music, instant hooks for TikTok, and softcore aesthetics that was set from previous seniors during the later half of the 4th gen, rather than bringing something new to the table and truly influencing others. I am not saying that they copy anyone, especially NewJeans, but I am saying that they followed a path that has been walked before, that helped them reach their destination more easily and faster. Meanwhile, the girl groups who sat at the first tier and had a truly influential debut created their own lane and made others follow them. Like, you can easily name a successor who follows their path, which I cannot make the same case of ILLIT. That's why they are in the 2nd tier and very close to the first one.
Just like this, we gotta move like this.
What I appreciate the most about this rollout process of Kiss of Life's debut is the fact that it is a visual album. Each member was introduced with a solo MV first that metaphorically showed their own stories and journeys of how they followed their dreams and became together. It parallels between both the character and them in real life. For example, Natty's character was kinda homeless and had to move to different places to dance and audition, because that is her dream, and the only thing she knows. It's similar to how she had to hop on and off from so many companies and survival shows to become who she is today. Another thing that I appreciate is that the solo song and MV showcase their talents and personality quite well. Even if the other solo songs are not at the sugarcoat level, they are still distinctive enough to know who they are. And then all of the MVs were even connected with each other. Each character's action affects others even without them knowing who the other person is. It creates a universe and feels so immersive when they all come together in the By My Neverland and MV. The Avengers have now assembled to pursue their dream together. So the rollout was 10 out of 10, but about the song quality itself. Shh is not Kiss of Life's best songs if we compare it to their later hits. But it showcased their energy and performance skills so well to the point many fans were even trying to PR and lie a bit about how they were all ex-Big Four trainees, LOL. This debut didn't get them out of the Nugadome, but surely had made them stay on top of it and made a statement. We're here to stay, and y'all should pay attention to us.
Better, better, better. Shish, shish, shish.
I will have to take both Batter Up and Sheesh into account of ranking BABYMONSTER's debut. Because boy, they were the prime example of wasted potential. The hype of being the first girl group after the legendary 2NE1 and BLACKPINK, the hype of being freshly out of survival shows that we all knew was just noise marketing was there. And finally, the hype of having a talented enough lineup was so there. Their fans were even threatening the 5 Dragon Princesses that they will dominate the 4th gen. But then what happened? Their debut just kept getting delayed and delayed. And it turned out that ION might not show up for their quote-unquote debut due to health reasons. This was such a vague statement to be publicized. Everyone was having a lot of questions at that time. Will she come back? Has she left YG? Is this because of any drama? Health is obviously not the reason, right? So she disappeared. BABYMONSTER had to debut with a 6-member lineup, which is not a good look for them among the racist Korean public. Their foreign members already outnumbered the Korean ones, and now they even lost the center of the group. The one that YG tried to market as the next Jennie. And then YG wasn't even trying with the song Batter Up. The song itself is already a scrapped version of BLACKPINK that is already outdated and looks so forced on these children's. Everyone already criticized and was disappointed about it, so I will not elaborate more. But let's talk about YG's promotion. It was so obvious that they were still waiting for ION's decision to return because their effort was literally zero. Apart from the crazy MV ads and some video performances, there was no music show performance, no TV appearance, no dance challenge, no nothing. The only thing carrying them was the streams and views from the international fans, which were mostly just Blinks being bored because BLACKPINK was put in the dungeon. If Batter Up was outdated in the YG and K-pop's kind of way, then their second single, Stuck in the Middle, was outdated in the Western and Disney Channel's kind of way. And of course, barely any promotion. Then finally, a good thing came up. Aeon's return was confirmed, which was great but also frustrating at the same time because why didn't you wait for their full OT7 to make an official debut? If you already decided on an OT6 comeback, why didn't you do it properly? What if Aeon didn't return? The rest of the members will just have to accept that they have the worst Big 3 debut ever? If it was that, I would be unhesitant to put them at the bottom tier. But YG tried to restart everything and make a pre-debut. This should not be how things go, but okay, let's see what you have on your second try. And the song is still terrible. Sheesh is still terrible, outdated, formulaic, and uninspiring, both musically, visually, and conceptually. I already know that Monstiez, Blinks, and other YG lovers are already trying to type something to defend YG's behavior, but I really don't care. Their coddling is the reason why YG artists are ending up where they are now. The only thing that differentiated this from last time was that they have their ace now, Aeon. BABYMONSTER now finally has their center back to focus on and make the formation look so balanced. In addition, Aeon might not be the best vocalist, rapper, or dancer, but she has the most attractive aura and star quality in the group. Her fan cams, facial expressions, and presence while performing went so viral that it also made the group's performance viral, and then the song itself too, not just among international fans, but also K-nets. They finally got their first win. I am not denying ION's Korean privilege, but let's be real. Having her back was the best thing to happen for BABYMONSTER. But having YG as their company was also the worst thing for them. YG might know how to train their idols, but they are so incompetent in promoting them. That's why the situation hasn't improved for them. Anyway, with two unusual debuts, BABYMONSTER did better at their second try and wasn't totally a flop. There was always something with NewJeans' debut that changed the K-pop industry forever. The surprise release of attention that came out of nowhere. That Y2K adjacent aesthetic. That refreshing summer beat. That rabbit mascot. This started the whole NewJeans summer run. To have a surprise debut in this climate of K-pop when everything had to be planned and calculated based on formulas means that you must be crazily confident with your music and concept. And they were correct. It slowly rose on the chart and eventually reached a perfect all-kill. And you might think that the first single would often be the most successful songs from a group's album, since that's when people pay the most attention to. But no, they outdid themselves just right after that with Hype Boy, one of the most stably performing K-pop songs ever, and even achieved a music show win after being released for many months. In terms of sound, it expands the groundwork that attention has laid to such an exquisite level. It took the entire K-pop industry by storm even many years later. But I want to give the credits also to their dedication regarding the MV visual. Each member has their own MV and storylines of meeting their own hype boys while still being interconnected with each other. It is so satisfying because NewJeans has already established themselves both as a musically catchy group and a visual focus one. That philosophy is the thing that they still follow and build their success on. Hurt diversified their sounds to a more slower ballad territory that any K-pop group would often need. Their visual identity is still strong. But of course, everything great will always have a flaw. We have KiiiKiii, their most controversial song. Yes, I've read through the Ador's statement and also the most common defensive comments of bunnies, such as, "It's just your dirty minds that's sexualizing it." The song was about the relationship between suppliers and consumers and artists and fans. KiiiKiii is the music CD, and the baker is NewJeans. I just want to say that in the best-case scenarios where Min Hee-jin, the director with known proofs and allegations of sexualizing minors, and her lyricist teams of very proficient and native English speakers, truly meant that and had truly no sexual intention, they should really work on their double entendres because no one would connect the boys and their lyrics to their fans' bunnies. But overall, I still can't deny the fact that this is one of the most iconic debut eras ever. And you can clearly feel something changed in the air after the debut. No, I am not talking that groups plagiarize them. I am saying that there is obvious influence here on a general scope.
What you looking at? What you looking at? What you looking at? What you looking
It is kinda wild that even now, no EP in SSERAFIM's discography has yet to dethrone their very first one. You know that SSERAFIM's EPs are often known for having a B-side being better and more successful than their title track? The Fearless EP has multiple of them. Sour Grapes being so good that to this day, there's still Garam stans who's begging her to come back because of her bridge. Blue Flame is a promoted B-side that has such a catchy melody and viral choreography. The Great Mermaid has such a cunty beat and also a decently performing song. Even their intro MV, The World Is My Oyster, has created such hype by setting such a unique identity for them to follow in their later intros. The catwalk music, fearless actions, sporty chic fashion, cars and bikes, the members' native language, the crazy editing. This, and also the fact that they will have Sakura and Chaewon in the lineup, has made people tune in for the title track. Fearless, as the song, is kinda bland and adds nothing interesting to the table musically. But I still appreciate that it can highlight the members' performance skill and identity, maybe not Yoonchae, and still be cohesive in the EP. The song performed decently in streams and charts. Overall, if we just look back at the product only, this is such a good debut. But let's address the elephant in the room. Number one is that very concerning choreo in the MV when two members are still minors. I feel like at this point, every hype group will inevitably have a situation like this. Number two is the bigger one, Garam's bullying scandal. Miss Girl could only experience being an idol for 2 weeks and had to disappear and eventually get kicked out. I truly think Source Music were trying to market her as the next center, an it girl LOL. It was so messy because the K-nets were so angry while international fans kind of feel bad for Garam. Hybe tried to fight back, but at the end of the day, the capitalist only spoke money language and had to choose between her and the money. What's funnier is their documentary series where they tried to delete her experience so well that everyone thought Source Music was a Little Mix fan. I truly think that the documentary could be such a good marketing and storytelling move of how the members got together based on their materials. Sakura and Chaewon were from IZON, Yoonjin were also from Produce 101, and Kazuha was a trained ballet dancer. But if we look past that, the Garam situation, the series was good and intriguing. Or the entire era was so well done and could be on the top tier. But the messy reality has moved it down to okay. I have dissected NMIXX's debut before, but let's go through it briefly again. The hype for NMIXX was definitely there when the members showcased their strong talents in performance videos. But for the debut, everyone was like, what is this? People need time to comprehend the group's mixed pop music, which, while establishing for them a strong identity, make the group's commercial success not performing well as expected from a big three-girl group, especially as a new group after their seniors, TWICE and ITZY. Yeah, you just had to be there during the disappointment that the general public gave to the group. It received 0 music show wins and was nowhere to be found on charts, which is kinda shocking for a JYP girl group who are often known to be loved by K-nets. Although now they have found their lane and the general public has learned to appreciate mix pop more, we cannot deny the fact that their debut was a rough start. I think what gave people a little bit of hope was the B-side Tank, which is cunty song with catchy chorus, strong choreo, and a satisfying bridge. Anyway, overall it was confusing. While I didn't really rank Kepler that high in the previous video, I do think in this case, they were a better competitor, right? While we can all accept their gradual downfall, we have to admit that Wadada is a successful, or at least decently performing debut. The song itself is kinda bland and formulaic, but it's catchy enough to ride on the hype of support given to them after the survival show. And while not really well executed, they were still retaining a little bit of the star and space-themed concept that made them slightly more unique and didn't stray away from it like how they did with their later comebacks. I am hesitant between the second tier and the third tier. With 3 music show wins, over 100 million streams, and basic concept, I didn't think they made that strong of a statement, but surely enough for people to notice them and hope that they could be the next successor of IZ*ONE.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You make me feel like 11.
I feel like the 4th generation is divided into 2 sub-generations, and the line between the two is IVE's 11. Like the first one is being dominated by the I-Trinity, Everglow, and aespa. But then IZ*ONE disbanded, I-DLE and aespa went on hiatus, ITZY flopped, Everglow was not doing that big of a number. And also the fact people were coming out of quarantine at that time, we were demanding for a new wave of girl groups. And at the start of that wave was IVE's 11. This debut was special not only because of that, but also because of how it started showing the crack in the monopoly of the big 3. While I mentioned a lot of names in the first half of the 4th generation, it was still very clear that the ones sitting on the throne at that moment were ITZY and aespa. The crowns at that moment were still held by big 3. Until IVE. Of course, Starship is not that small of a company, and they have Wonyoung and Yoojin, the maknaes and hot members of IZ*ONE. But you have to admit that after this, there was a crazy influx of consecutive debuts from girl groups that made the 4th gen memorable. Kepler, NMIXX, SSERAFIM, NewJeans, just less than a year. In terms of success, 11 was so popular that it got 13 music show wins, at least 200 million streams and views, and broke sales records. While I admitted that their debut had an influence, I didn't think 11 as the song and MV itself is influential in terms of sound or concept revolution. And we also needed to remind ourselves that the girls were heavily criticized during this era for their weak vocals and lip syncing. The hate train was kinda crazy. All of those considered, they still made a very strong statement that they are here to slay, which they eventually did with later comebacks. aespa has kind of revolutionized SM with the SMCU, Kwangya, and tons of AI/virtual technology shits, haven't they? And all of that starts with Black Mamba. Okay, so looking back now, We have understood and appreciated it more for its legacy, but if you were really there for their debut, it wasn't really a smooth sail. It was not as bad as NMIXX's debut, where 90% of people were against it. This was more like 50-50. Yeah, this high-tech concept is refreshing and exciting, but we also needed time to fathom the very lore-heavy lyrics and the Avatar members. While it broke the most viewed debut records on the first day, it took quite a long time for them to get a music show win. And there was a lot of criticism for their lip-syncing and pre-recorded vocals at the time. They were a quarantine group, so I don't really blame them. And there were even some pre-debut allegations and plagiarism accusations that I didn't even remember. But in the long run, the song performed quite well among international fans, and did not just pave the way for the SMCU's lore, but also highlighted the members' unique identity as well. We already recognized Karina for her surreal visual, Ning Ning and Winter's vocal in the bridge, and Giselle is the rapper and has that background vocals later going viral. The choreo also went viral. They did all of that within just one song that definitely made a statement. It's just the general public needed more time to catch up with their world building. Imagine getting out of Nugudom with just a song that is your debut. That's what STAYC did with So Bad. Their debut is so bad, but it's actually so good. To this day, people are still complimenting it as one of the best debut K-pop songs of all time. I really love how different STAYC and aespa's debut were, given the fact that they debuted really close to each other. One took us to the future with technology and AI, while the other one took us to the past with that retro nostalgic sound. And just like Black Mamba, So Bad set out the exact expectation for what identity STAYC will be following and slaying in the future. They will refresh the cute concept that was laid out by Twice and make it their own. They will create the catchiest phrase ever, the most addicting sound ever, and the most satisfying choreo ever. I can't imagine what numbers it would have done if this was a Big Four debut. But yeah, life is not really fair, and this is the highest that any Nugu group can achieve at this ranking. The fourth gen actually started around late 2017 and 2018, but only until 2019, where people actually recognized, thanks to ITZY. Dala Dala was the debut song of the fourth generation, and it does exactly what a perfect debut song should do. It sets out a clear and distinguishable identity for them. Firstly, it is the self-love lyrics and confidence message that resonated with people and hadn't been called out as superficial. Secondly, it's the youthful teen crush concept that combined BLACKPINK's girl crush and Twice's cuteness, the concepts from two biggest girl groups at that time. Thirdly, it's the strong dance break that showcased their strong performance ability. And finally, it's obviously the iconic crown pose. You just have to be there for their debut. They broke the view records and snatched that Super Rookie title. Okay, now, it's time for a serious debate part for the ranking. I think this debut was the same case as IVE, whereas they kinda did everything almost perfectly, broke records, and marked the start of a generation. But as the song and concept itself, has it really influenced the soundscape or pushed a new wave of concept onto the K-pop scene? Because in this ranking, we also talk about artistry, right? And I have a harder time naming an ITZY daughter or an ITZY-inspired product than I can with NewJeans. Look, it's not a bad thing for not being influential artistically. Being successful is already hard, and they have done it so perfectly. Sometimes it's just a little bit of luck. Overall, still a very iconic debut that made a strong statement. We have talked about IVE and SSERAFIM, so we cannot forget the OG themselves. ITZY, right? Again, a very good standard debut. The eleganza and flower-themed concept that set an identity for them to follow in later comebacks. The 12-member lineup and choreo is kinda satisfying. The sound is pleasing. Overall, such a perfect song to come out of that nasty survival show, and low-key distracted people a bit from its rigging scandal. It won 3 music show cups, gained millions of streams and views, and broke sales records. I have no note for them. Maybe just need a little more to really become artistically inspiring, but they totally deserve the second tier. Oh my god, guys. IDLE just rebranded. So excited for their rebirth. Anyway, imagine your company having no decent debut song prepared, so you just have to produce one on your own. Having to pose next to the trash bin, your debut name is horrible and hard to search. Being low-key a nugu group and having to dance on the street and only selling 520 albums on your first day. Yet, your debut song still managed to rise on charts and get 3 music show wins, over 200 million views and streams. Latata is kinda that girl. The MV is kind of funny, they were just doing anything, and the concept is so vague that didn't set any strong identity for them. But the song itself did that. It was about sex, and not the pro-women message like their recent songs, but it has great hooks and introduced the members perfectly. Soyeon is the leader and fierce rapper, Minnie the siren voice, and Uki the deep voice. Miyeon is the main vocal. Sujin is the dancer and will handle the killing parts, and Shuhua is there to sing some onomatopoeias. That's why when performing on stage, people kinda see the potential and support them. They made a statement for sure, but still, fuck Cube for this poor promotion.
Boombaya!
Let's move on to the third gen with BLACKPINK. It's just so insane to me that they have a dual single to target both the Korean market and the international market. It's like having Taylor Swift to target the white girls and Beyoncé to target the black girls. That's a weird comparison. So sorry. Anyway, on one hand, Boombaya broke the rookie view records at that time with 3 million views, which is 30 million by today's standard. It has gained over 1 billion views by now and charted in so many countries, and is the debut song among international fans. This track was obviously created with the YG formula in mind to create a second version of 2AE1, which we have to admit that they did it successfully while still adding their own flares to it. When 2NE1 disbanded, BLACKPINK inherited that signature sound, talents, and girl crush concept foundation, made it into their own, and popularized it even wider to the point that it got so oversaturated in K-pop during this era of 2017 to 2019. Everyone was trying to be a girl crush at some point, but not everyone can reach the same level of charisma that the combo of BLACKPINK individuals have. And Boombaya was the start for all of it. Now on the other hand, we have Whistle, objectively their best song that had yet been dethroned. It just sounds so classy with that whistle hooks, full bridge, and being very distant from that YG formula. And the Korean public recognized it too and made it reach perfect all-kill, a record that was only broken recently by ILLIT. It also got them 3 music show wins and almost 1 billion viewed MV. Like having 2 billion viewed MVs right at your debut is crazy. I always wonder about an alternate universe where they followed the Whistle path instead of the Boombaya path. They probably wouldn't be as successful by now, but our ears will be pleased. Anyway, something was in the air the day BLACKPINK debuted. Remember when we talked about the groups in the second tier and how their perfect debut had set such an identity for them to follow in the next comeback? We can also with Twice, right? Like Ooh Ah, while not being the most iconic song from Twice like Cheer Up or What Is Love, has laid a foundation for them to do such songs. The ability to cutify everything, Dayoon and Chaeyoung's rap verse, Sana's cute line, Chewy's pre-choru, Momo's dance break, Nayeon's center and chorus, Mina's bridge, Jiyo's vocal, Jonghyun fighting to not get overshadowed by Jiyo's screaming in the final chorus. It was such a perfect formula. While not getting any music show win, it paved the way for their later songs to win so much more. And it still got like 500 million views on YouTube, so it's definitely not a flop. Their teasers were so funny, they were just doing anything. It was giving 9 girls with no budget and a dream. But that dream is a statement that got them to the second tier. It can be so easy for new K-pop fans to look back and think that Happiness was a successful and smooth debut. I mean, it got 100 million views for MV, showed us Wendy's powerful vocal that ended everybody on her first day at the job, Seulgi's iconic intro,
Sometimes you gotta be bold.
and the communist lyrics. But girls, Sit down and let me teach you some history about their glass cliff phenomenon. 2014 was a messy year for SM. Tax evasion scandal, Girls' Generation losing a member, Yuna's relationship was revealed by Dispatch, something with Hyoyeon, the police, and her ex-boyfriend. Tiffany dating news was also confirmed. And eventually, Taeyeon and Baekhyun's dating news. And that's just not all. Chris Woo, formerly an EXO member and currently a criminal, also had a lawsuit with SM. FX ended their promotion for Red Light due to Sully's mental health. Two of those incidents happened just within a week before the debut of You Know It, Red Velvet. They were used as a distraction, and a lot of SM stans threw hate at them. The concept and promotion was so obviously rushed. Red Velvet is known to have the best concept and exquisite sound ever, but happiness doesn't really reflect that, or set any foundation. I've known Luvies who are happiness defenders and growing to enjoy it, but I've never seen one really put it on top of their best songs list. And also the concept is kinda problematic with those references to the atomic bombs in Japan and 9/11. And they were not OT5 at that time, and there were a lot of conspiracies on why Yeri wasn't with them at that time. They were literally set up to fail, but they tried their best to come out as not flopping as possible. And we have to thank them for their talents. Let's get to the ancient territory, the second generation. I'll also only cover 3 groups that have somewhat outstanding debuts because time is running out. First with Miss A. Imagine getting a day song for Song of the Year with just your debut song. Such a legendary move. They were also the fastest girl group to get a win and stayed at #1 on the charts for 4 weeks straight. I am not a dinosaur, so I have a really hard time remembering what it was like during that time apart from the song being so catchy and popular. Is there any group trying to reheat their nachos? Because they obviously deserve at least the second tier by being such a monster rookie. But I am looking for a little bit of artistic influence from them. Maybe I missed some memories and need you guys to remind me of how they have influenced K-pop. But so far, oh my god, a lot you will hate me for this. But they're at the second tier. And also let's address the concept in choreo because that's definitely not appropriate for Suzy to do. I would really love the empowerment message if it was not sung by a 15-year-old. Lollipop was also in the debut process, but it was kinda just a pre-debut advertisement, so I'll mainly talk about Fire. Fire was the song that a lot of girl groups want to cover, but only a few can really match 70% of 2AE1's energy. Just like their name, the song was so full of energy with the hip-hop and reggae concept fusion. It is such a good song to play in the club or for the group to perform. They have so many highlights in this one. Like the iconic intro from CL,
I go by the name of CL at 21.
Dara's hairstyle. Bombs Start Drawing and Minzy's dance break, and the MVs were so invested in that time too. They had 2 versions. The street version was the more digestible one with focused choreo and very Y2K fashion, and what the fuck is CL's hair? The space version was where they threw a lot of things together. Motorbike, drums, cards, Playboy bunny ears, Indian culture. It was like they wanted to show off everything to make it so fire like the name and highlight the members' charisma, but also kinda confusing, but also kinda camp, but also still very messy. I also agree with the critics that this has set the groundwork for much of the group's future singles. Catchy electropop bangers with loads of attitude. But now looking at the ranking, it is quality. It is successful. But the question is it influential enough to be in the first tier? We all know 2NE1 was the pioneer in the girl crush concept, right? But at the very start, the landscape of the second gen wasn't really ready for them like they were with BLACKPINK. The second generation at that time was more popular with either cute or sexy concepts until 2NE1 came to the scene and slowly changed the game with hits like I Am the Best or I Don't Care. Fire was more of a foundation for such songs rather than the game changers. That's why I put her in the second tier. I feel like I will be disagreed a lot, but I stand by this choice. Now, seeing me putting 2NE1 and Miss A not at the first tier would make you think that I am disrespecting the legends. But please wait for my praise for the very last one from Girls' Generations. I don't think I need to say much about this anthem. It feels kinda iconic when your group's name is Girls' Generation, and you're the biggest girl group at the second generation that opened so many doors for girl groups to compete on the same level with boy groups in this male-dominated industry. And then your debut song is literally named Into the New World. It's like they did not just enter the new world by themselves, but also create a new generation for female idols, the girls' generation. It gives what's supposed to be gave. And then later, it became a national hit, known by everyone in South Korea, and almost every girl group sings this song as a tribute. It was like a ritual for every generation at this point. And its impact doesn't just stop at being popular, it was used in so many socio-political protests by women and for women. And I think that's what I was looking for in 2AE1 and Miss A's debut, and that's why I have to put this debut at the very top.
Let's go to the beach. Each, let's go get away.
Okay, so that's it. Looking at the ranking right now, the first tier is obviously revolutionary. Girls' Generation, BLACKPINK, and NewJeans have all changed the trajectory of the second, third, and fourth gen with their debut. Their second tier are record-breaking. They are all some of the most successful debuts ever with well-executed identity. The third is good and just needs a little bit more to move up. The fourth tier is not bad, but a lot of room for improvement. And the fifth tier is really concerning and underwhelming. The reasons why, while being super disappointed with the debuts from the fifth tier, I didn't place them in dead last, is because there is still something in there apart from my criterias. We can see the creative effort put into KiiiKiii, NMIXX's experimental concept, and Mio and Baemon's talent and individuality being highlighted. They have the budget to do that, and somewhat a safety net to have a chop debut. Meanwhile, most of the girl groups in the industry, the Nugu groups belonging in the sixth tier, don't even have the budget for their debut, to begin with. And I think you guys can name them very easily. I might cover them in the second video, and a lot of groups that I missed like Luna, Everglow, and G-Friend. We'll see after seeing how this video performs. I already know that this video and ranking will be controversial, as every video of mine is. But I will always encourage healthy debate and personal opinions without insulting anyone. Please comment to let me know what you think. Which group did I get it right? Which group was totally wrong? Is there any group that you want me to also do? But for now, thank you, goodbye, and see you in the next video.